Don't stop. You're doing great. Stacking the small, healthy habits is probably the best approach to ensuring success. Another challenge that we have is that a part of us may be coming to grips with identifying with becoming a different person. And in reality, welcome back to the power of healthy habits, where small changes can lead to huge positive transformations in your lifestyle. Black man, what's up? Appreciate you for clicking on this video. Thank you for returning. If it's your first time here, thank you for taking the time to watch my videos, share, like, and comment. I really appreciate it. All the engagement really does help and helps keep me motivated to keep going. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about change. And since we're at week 8 of 2026, a lot of people begin to start feeling that fall off, especially if you started with some type of New Year resolution or any type of goal that you decided to embark on. And now you're at that point where you definitely have been putting in the work, putting in the effort, and maybe you don't quite see some of the results you may expect to see immediately. Keep on task. Don't stop. You're doing great. These are some of the normal types of feeling or things that you'll experience if you're at that point where you're not really sure if you're doing the right thing or if you want to continue doing what you've been doing. Don't lose sight of your goal. Stay on task. First, let's be sure that we pay attention to where we actually are and where we've come from. Even if you've just made the decision to make a change and you haven't started yet, that awareness is at least a step in the right direction. If you started to make change and you just haven't seen all the progress that you want to see yet, don't worry, it's coming. Maybe you haven't implemented the right change yet, or maybe it just takes time. You have to give yourself time, especially if we're talking about a change with respect to our health or mindset. You really can't separate the two, but they are two things that impact one another. Having the mindset, being aware of making the change, usually is where we begin. And then physically actually executing is the next step. So a lot of times we get caught in the reverse cycle because we're so comfortable with where we are that we allow our comforts to impact our mindset and we stay complacent. So if you've been on this journey for, let's say, 2 to 8 weeks and you're arriving at some resistance or a cliff, as you might call it, where you've been doing well and now all of a sudden now you're beginning to feel like you want to drop off, this is normal behavior. One of the reasons that this happens is you're really interrupting your routine, which is not a bad thing, but it could be a bad thing if you're overwhelmed and you're trying to do everything at once. Meaning, if you're trying to change your diet while trying to exercise perhaps 5 days a week, and then at the same time, you're increasing your workload because you have goals that you want to reach in other parts of your life, just have to dial back, making the small steps. Stacking the small, healthy habits is probably the best approach to ensuring success. Now, another challenge that we have with change is that a part of us may be coming to grips with identifying with becoming a different person. Or you may feel like your identity as it stands now is being challenged. And in reality, it could be. If, for example, you identify as this is the way we are, meaning our family has always eaten this type of food, we've always been big people, etc., so on and so forth, that could really be challenging who you really want to become. If you are one of those people who feel like the changes that you want to make is having an impact on your identity, you're not alone. Everyone who's wanted to make a change, especially a change that is unique in your environment, has gone through some phase of feeling like they're the only one, or that they're becoming something that they've never seen before. It's not always easy to embrace, but if you trust the process, understanding that the healthy habits that you're implementing, especially if you can implement them slowly, in the long run are going to be most beneficial for you. Another resistance to change that people experience is when they try to do too much too fast. Like you want to go 0 to 100. If you're starting off working out and it's been a while, it doesn't make sense to work out 5 days straight. Even going in to a workout in general is new. So allowing yourself to become reintroduced to the habit of working out regularly in small increments is probably going to be best to ensure that you don't burn yourself out. If you're doing multiple things all at once, the likelihood of experiencing burnout increases tremendously. This segment was proudly sponsored by ABOB, also known as ABOB. ABOB is committed to empowering our people by reconnecting us with the strength, resilience, and legacy of our heritage. ABOB is a call to action, a reminder that the world is always better on our culture, our creativity, and our resilience. Remember that, it's time to do the same. Assuming that you're aware and you have started making these changes, especially if you began at the top of the year, then embracing the small changes is probably going to be one of the most important success factors that you can implement, because the small changes will allow you to add things to your routine incrementally, and it won't feel like a shock to your system. You'll also be able to allow your body to adjust both internally and physically. Let's remember, those of us who own vehicles or drive in general are constantly checking our gauges. The most frequently checked gauge is the fuel level. Second to that is more than likely checking the oil, ensuring that everything is operating at its best condition. Now for our bodies, we need to do the same thing. So we should be checking our blood pressure. That will allow us to have a better understanding of how we're actually operating internally. Let's keep in mind, high blood pressure doesn't always come with warning signs. That's why it's often referred to as the silent killer. And think about it. It's kind of hard to manage something if you don't know what your numbers are. Now, back to your habits and your routines. If you've already embraced the idea of making these small incremental changes, and you may have done a little too much too soon, and you have a little bit of a feeling of being overwhelmed, or you're reaching that point where you might be resisting or falling off the track that you once started, make small minor adjustments. They can be as simple as, you know you want to work out. Working out 5 days a week is probably too much. So if you want to hit that 5 days a week, commit to walking every day after dinner for about 20 minutes. Or consider reducing the number of days to maybe 3 days a week until you can get up to that goal that you want to hit. These small healthy habits will help you be more consistent and stack other small habits that you can fit into your routine. The gradual change in your routine will help you move from being reactionary to being preventative. So you're not waiting for something to happen so you can fix it, and you're actually implementing the changes before they even get a chance to cause a problem. Implementing small healthy habits will lead to having small wins. Those small wins will lead to discipline, and that discipline will lead to results. So don't stop. The compounding effect of stacking healthy habits will lead to you feeling better in weeks. And then you might start seeing changes in months. But overall, in the long term, you will begin living what you've dreamed of. Now, if you're 22 or up and you haven't checked your blood pressure in the last 30 days, that's one of the easiest places to begin. Yes, you can work out. Yes, you can change your diet, but checking your blood pressure and at least knowing where you are at the moment will help you understand how serious you need to be considering changing your diet. Comment healthy habits below if you're committed to staying on track. Watch this video here where I talk about the importance of execution when managing your blood pressure, or watch this video here where I talk a little bit about my journey in fasting 40 hours a week for a year and the changes that I saw.